What happens when you're 70, 75, or even 80 and there's no one to check in on you? No partner, no children nearby, no daily phone calls. This is the quiet reality for millions of older adults across the US right now. They're living alone, not by choice, but by life's design. And while solitude can be peaceful, it can also be dangerous if you're not prepared. Falls, medical emergencies, phone scams, loneliness, these are not rare events. They're daily risks. But here's the good news. There are simple, powerful things you can do today to protect your well-being, stay independent, and feel safe, even if no one is around. In this video, we'll walk through 5 clear steps every senior should take to stay safe while living alone. Whether you're 60 or 85, these tips can help you protect your peace of mind and possibly save your life. So if you care about aging wisely and living longer, hit that like button, subscribe for weekly senior wellness videos, and comment 0 below, so we know you're here. Let's begin, because independence should never come at the cost of safety. It always starts the same way, quiet evenings that feel peaceful, maybe even comforting at first. You tell yourself, I like the silence, I enjoy the calm. But over time, that silence grows heavy. Days pass without a phone call. No one knocks on the door. You start skipping the community potluck. You don't return that voicemail from your neighbor. And slowly, you slip into something you didn't expect: isolation. For many older adults living alone, this isn't just a possibility, it's the norm. And it's dangerous. Loneliness doesn't just hurt your heart emotionally, it damages it physically. Studies show social isolation raises your risk of heart disease, stroke, and even dementia. It eats away at memory, disrupts sleep, weakens immunity, and in time erodes the will to keep going. Walter, a 75-year-old widower, never used to think of himself as lonely. After his wife passed, he adjusted. He still mowed the lawn, still cooked dinner for one, still tinkered with wood in the garage. But something shifted. He started waking up, tired. Food lost its flavor. Days blended together. He felt foggy, unmotivated, and disconnected. It wasn't until a random conversation at the hardware store, just a chat with another man about screws and hinges, that he realized how deeply he missed human connection. That simple interaction reminded him of who he used to be. The problem wasn't his age or his independence, it was the silence. And that's why staying socially connected is the first and most important key to living safely while aging alone. Because connection isn't just about company, it's about survival. When you speak, you process. When you laugh, you heal. When someone sees you, they notice when something's off. They call, they show up, they care. And that one moment of care can change everything. So how do you reconnect when you feel so far removed? It doesn't require a huge leap. Start small. Walter did. He found a flyer for a local woodworking group on the community bulletin board and showed up, not because he was ready, but because he was tired of the weight of silence. And to his surprise, it didn't take long to feel human again. The room smelled like sawdust and coffee. People laughed, shared old stories, and passed around projects with shaky but capable hands. No one asked for credentials. No one cared. If you were grieving, they just welcomed him. You can do the same. Call someone even if it's been a while. Join a book club or a walking group. Revisit your old church or volunteer at the library. If you're homebound, use the phone or join a virtual meetup. There are online gardening groups, chess groups, and even senior wellness Zoom circles. What matters isn't the format. What matters is the presence. And once you show up, your brain begins to light up again, literally. So here's the question. When was the last time you had a real conversation that made you feel alive? Not a transaction, not a chore, but a human moment. If it's been too long, maybe it's time. Leave a comment below, just a hello or your own story. And stay with us, because coming up next is something equally vital. What if no one knew you were in trouble? What if no one checked in? Let's talk about that next. Imagine this. You wake up one morning feeling dizzy. You reach for your phone, but your fingers are slow. Maybe it's just dehydration, you tell yourself. You sit down, hoping it'll pass. But hours slip by. Your speech begins to slur. You try to stand, but your legs fail you. No one's coming. No one even knows you need help. For too many older adults, especially those living alone, this isn't a rare situation. It's a terrifyingly real possibility. And it doesn't take a dramatic fall or major health event to leave someone stranded. Sometimes, all it takes is one silent morning. One unanswered moment. Walter understood this the day he read about a man in his town who lay on the floor for 2 days after slipping in the shower. That story shook him. He thought about how his own days passed, quiet, peaceful, but disconnected. He realized that if anything ever went wrong, no one would know. Not his daughter 3 states away, not the neighbor who waved now and then. He needed a safety net, but he didn't want to give up his independence. That's when he found the solution that changed everything. A simple daily check-in system. This doesn't mean moving in with someone. It doesn't require nurses or expensive tech. At its heart, it's just a habit, a small act that says, "I'm here." Walter made it part of his morning routine. Each day he texts his friend Joe before 10 a.m. Just a simple good morning. If Joe doesn't hear from him by 10:30, he gives him a call. If there's no response, he walks across the street. That's it. That one message, one check-in, turns isolation into security. Because now Walter knows that someone will notice if something goes wrong. You can do the same, and you can tailor it to your life. Maybe it's your niece, your church friend, or a neighbor you trust. Maybe it's a phone call, a message, or even a motion detecting device. Some seniors use apps designed for wellness check-ins. Others just wave from the porch each day. The format doesn't matter. The consistency does. And the beauty of it? It's simple. It preserves dignity. You're not being monitored. You're being cared for in the quietest, kindest way. Since starting his daily check-in, Walter sleeps more easily. He feels less anxious. Even when nothing's wrong, the knowledge that someone's expecting that morning text gives him purpose. It's a reminder that he's still part of a world that notices. That alone is worth everything. And for Joe, it's no burden. It's a joy to know he's helping in such a meaningful, non-intrusive way. That's the power of connection without dependence. Now think about your own life. If something happened tomorrow, how long would it take for someone to notice? A day, 2? What if you could shrink that silence into just a few hours or less? Share in the comments below if you already have a check-in habit, or if you're thinking of starting one. And keep watching, because next we'll explore one of the most common and dangerous threats older adults face every day, often without realizing it. You're walking to the kitchen, maybe to grab a glass of water or check the oven. The rug shifts just slightly under your feet. You reach out for balance, but there's nothing to grab. 1 second you're upright, the next you're on the ground, and everything changes. That's how quickly it happens. No warning, no time to brace yourself. And when you're alone, a fall isn't just painful. It can be life-altering. Every year, millions of older adults end up in the emergency room because of falls. And yet most people still think, it won't happen to me. Until it does. That's the danger of familiarity. You walk the same path in your house every day until one day it becomes the place that breaks you. Walter had his wake-up call one rainy afternoon. He stepped out of the shower, reached for a towel, and slipped. He caught himself, but barely. That moment haunted him. He wasn't weak, he wasn't careless, but the floor didn't care, and it made him realize something important. Strength isn't just about muscles, it's about preparation. And fall prevention, he learned, wasn't a sign of frailty. It was an act of quiet strength. The solution is clear. If you want to stay independent, you must fall-proof your life before the fall happens. It starts with your space. Walter walked through his house differently after that scare. He noticed things he hadn't before: the loose rugs, dim hall lights, cluttered paths. So he made changes. He secured every rug or removed it entirely. He installed brighter lights in the hallway, especially near stairs and thresholds. He added grab bars in the bathroom, one by the toilet, another in the shower. These weren't expensive changes, but they gave him stability and, more importantly, confidence. Next, he turned to his body. The truth is, aging weakens muscles, that's natural. But weakness is not fate, it's a signal. Walter began a simple morning routine, standing from a chair without using his hands, walking heel to toe across the room and gently rotating his ankles to stay flexible. It wasn't much, it didn't take long, but it worked. He felt steadier, more in control. That's what daily habits do. They don't make you superhuman. They make you prepared. He also learned to keep a phone with him at all times, even around the house. Care fall isn't just a risk, it's a race against time. And if the fall makes you unable to reach the phone, that's where medical alert devices come in. He found one that fit like a necklace, barely noticeable, but always there. A simple button. That could call for help in seconds. That's peace of mind you can wear. So take a look at your home. Walk through it with new eyes. Where might you fall? What could you trip over? Are your legs strong enough to steady you? And if something happens, can you call for help? Share in the comments what you've already done or plan to do to prevent falls, because next we're going to face a danger that doesn't knock you down, but sneaks in when you least expect it. It's late. You're alone. The lights are low and the TV hums softly in the background. Then a knock at the door. You weren't expecting anyone. The voice outside says they're from the gas company, but you didn't call for service. Your heart skips. You hesitate. Should you open it? What if it's a scam? What if it's worse? This moment isn't fiction, it's a reality that plays out in homes across America every night. Seniors are often seen as easy targets by both scammers and intruders. Living alone doesn't make you weak, but it does make you visible. And if your home isn't secure, one small mistake can cost more than money. It can cost peace, confidence, and even safety. Walter faced that moment once. His phone rang one afternoon. A man claiming to be from his bank told him there had been suspicious activity on his account. The caller was urgent, almost frantic, asking for his details to stop the fraud. For a second, Walter believed him. He almost gave his full account number, but something in his gut said wait. He hung up and called his bank directly. There was no suspicious activity. It was a scam, and it shook him. He realized that not all dangers are physical. Some wear the voice of authority, some hide behind friendly tones. So he took action. He started with the basics, locks. His front door had an old knob and a flimsy deadbolt. He replaced them with reinforced locks that couldn't be kicked in. Next, he added motion-activated lights to his driveway and front porch. Now, if anyone approaches at night, they light up like a spotlight. He didn't stop there. A video doorbell became his next investment. It let him see who was at the door before opening it. He could talk through the speaker without ever unlocking the latch. That simple device became a gatekeeper, especially helpful when strangers came offering services or pretending to represent a company. But security isn't just hardware, it's habits. Walter made it a rule. No personal or financial information is ever shared over the phone. If a caller says it's urgent, he calls back using a number he knows is real. If someone shows up claiming to be from the water company, he asks for ID and confirms with his neighbor. He also talked to his nephew about being his second opinion. If Walter ever receives a confusing message or questionable offer, he runs it by someone he trusts. That extra voice often brings clarity when fear clouds judgment. These steps didn't turn Walter's home into a fortress. They turned it into a sanctuary, a place where he feels in control, not just physically, but mentally. And that matters, because confidence is a part of health too. If you're always on edge, always second-guessing whether you're safe, your body carries that weight. So ask yourself this: when the doorbell rings at night, do you feel secure? If the answer isn't yes, what would it take to change that? Share your experience below, and stay with us because the last tip might be the one that saves your life when no one else is around. It always happens faster than you think. One moment you're making your morning coffee, the next you feel a sharp pain in your chest or a wave of dizziness pulling you down. Maybe it's a stroke, maybe it's your blood sugar crashing, maybe it's something worse. The truth is, when you live alone, time becomes your greatest enemy in an emergency. There's no one down the hall. No one is in the next room. No one notices the silence that suddenly takes over. So the real question is, if something happened to you right now, would anyone know what to do? Would you even be able to reach your phone? Walter found himself thinking about that more than once, especially after a neighbor, just a year younger than him, collapsed from a heart attack and wasn't found for nearly a full day. It wasn't the tragedy that shook Walter most. It was the helplessness. The thought of lying on the floor, aware but unable to call for help, haunted him. So he decided that peace of mind wasn't just about avoiding emergencies, it was about being ready for them. That's when Walter built his emergency readiness plan. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't complicated, but it was clear, and it could save his life. He started with the simplest piece, visibility. On his refrigerator, he taped a large print emergency sheet. It listed his allergies, medications, medical conditions, and emergency contacts. Paramedics wouldn't have to guess or fumble through drawers. The information would be there waiting in plain sight. Next, he labeled key names in his phone with ICE in case of emergency. That way, even if he couldn't speak, first responders could find the right person to call. Then came the lifeline he wears every day. Walter invested in a small, discreet medical alert device. It's not bulky or obvious. To most, it looks like a simple pendant. But inside is a button that, when pressed, connects him directly to emergency services. And if he falls and can't speak or move, the device detects it and sends help anyway. That tiny tool hanging quietly around his neck gives him more freedom than fear ever could. Finally, Walter thought through the layout of his home. Where were the exits? What if a fire started in the kitchen? What if someone tried to force their way in? He practiced escape routes. He put a flashlight beside his bed. He stored a spare key in a lockbox outside, with the code shared only with trusted family. None of these changes cost him much, but together they created something priceless, a sense of control in the most vulnerable moments. Emergencies don't give warnings, but being unprepared is a choice, and one that's easy to change. Think about your own space. Do you have a visible contact sheet? Can someone reach you if you collapse? Do you know your own exit routes? Share your thoughts or your own safety habits below. Because preparing for the worst doesn't mean living in fear. It means giving yourself the freedom to live well. Living alone after 60 doesn't mean living at risk. It means making thoughtful choices to stay safe, healthy, and connected in your own space. As we've seen through Walter's quiet strength, each small action, from joining a community group to installing a medical alert device, adds up to something powerful: independence with peace of mind. Remember, your dignity doesn't come from how much you can do alone, but from how wisely you prepare for the unexpected. Staying socially engaged, fall-proofing your home, securing your space, checking in daily and having a clear emergency plan, these are not just precautions, they're daily practices of self-respect. So take a breath and take one step. Maybe today it's calling a friend. Tomorrow it might be labeling your emergency contacts. You don't have to do it all at once. And if this video spoke to you, please share your story in the comments. You never know who your experience might help. Feel seen, heard, and safer.